Hi, folks. Warm welcome to season 5, episode 12 of the Lemons and Pineapples podcast with me, Emma O'Brien. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about family constellations, and I'm going to be talking about what family constellations is and how you can use it as a modality to profoundly and really effectively heal places that you're stuck and relationship dynamics that keep repeating. It's a really good modality for being able to identify and change inherent patterns that show up in your lives. And we can all relate to this, to feeling stuck, to feeling like you repeat the same relationship over and over and over again. And even though you know you do it, you somehow still can't change it. So constellations, family constellations is the modality for being able to shed a light on that and actually instigate some really, really powerful change. So to backtrack ever so slightly, I have been immersed in family constellations for the past month and a half. I trained as a facilitator in June for group constellations, and I've also been training to do one-on-one constellations as well. And if you are familiar with family constellations, if it's something you've heard about before, you may well know that it is traditionally done in a group setting with a whole collection of people, but it can also be done equally as effectively and equally as powerfully one-on-one online. I'm going to talk more about both ways of doing it. But if you're new and this is the first time you're hearing about family constellations and you're thinking this sounds really great, but what the hell is it? Allow me to enlighten you a little bit here. So it is a very experiential practice that helps to shed light on systemic family patterns that are often very unconscious and systemic family patterns that can be inherited. These can be things that we carry through our genetic line, and we know that epigenetics and intergenerational trauma is a real thing. There have been studies done on Holocaust survivors and looking at their descendants, and the fact that descendants of Holocaust survivors are often a lot more prone to being stressed and anxious and very, very unsettled, and to having their cortisol levels triggered far more easily than people who are not descendants of Holocaust survivors. So there is a genetic marker and some inherited trauma that's happening there that makes people more susceptible to stress. So if we're carrying that, there's all sorts of other things we can be carrying through our genetics as well. And family constellations is a lovely way of revealing those patterns, revealing the things that we carry, of revealing perhaps loyalties we have to other family members. Something that I have found come up in my own constellation work is the very unconscious belief that I can't out happy my own mother. I can't have a different life has been something that's come up for me. It's something I've been processing through with constellation work. Often we can find that we're living the same life as a parent or an uncle or a sibling or a grandparent, and we're doing the same thing and the same things are happening at the same age. These are all inherited ancestral patterns that come through. And these are the perfect things to bring to a family constellation session. So what happens if we're working in a group session, for instance, with family constellations, is a client would come to me with, let's say for argument's sake, I'm really struggling to have enough money. No matter what I do, all the money I earn, it disappears again. And I know how to manage my money and I do that. And I know all of the things, I'm aware of this pattern, but I just can't shift it. So we would bring that to a constellation, and we would be constellating in a group of people, and there would be somebody to represent the client, somebody to perhaps represent the money blocks, and then we would watch and see what unfolds in what's known as the knowing field, which is what we're working in with constellations. And my experience of what happens in the knowing field, because it can be a concept that is quite woo-woo in and of itself. It is a little bit mysterious how it works, because what will happen is the people who are in the field representing will uncannily say things that the person they're representing might say, or they will reveal dynamics that we know are at play in the family system, and the representatives have very little information about what's going on. So it isn't that someone's read the file and they're suddenly role playing like Amdram style in the field. That's not what happens. But it reveals truths and it reveals patterns, it reveals loyalties, it reveals hidden things. And sometimes just having a different perspective on the problem that you've come with or the family dynamic that you don't understand, just having a different perspective on it can immediately shift the power it has over you. Because often we have things like a money block, or I really struggled with money, is a story that infiltrates everywhere. It's a story we use to identify and define ourselves by, and of course keep ourselves in the story. And it's about understanding the dynamics underneath that story and being able to heal them and bring them to a resolution. I can say that I've been doing a lot of personal development work. I've been on this journey for over a decade now. And this is a modality that is so, so good and so powerful for getting to the bottom of issues promptly. You get to the bottom of issues in a constellation session that I don't know you'd ever uncover with talk therapy, because you just might not see it in that particular way. And if you were to uncover it with talk therapy, it would probably take you years. So, not wanting to give it, as I said, there's no guarantee with any healing modality of the outcome that's going to be happening, but it is something that I see when I do it for clients and when I've been involved in constellations and when I've had my own work done. There is just a moment in the constellation where you just go, I get it now. I get what I've been carrying. Don't need to carry that anymore. It's not mine. I've been running a story that isn't mine. I've been holding a loyalty to a lineage that I don't need to hold the loyalty to. My ancestors wouldn't want me also to be suffering like they do. So we're going to stop it right here. And I've shared that this can be done in a group setting, and absolutely can. And it's really, really, really lovely to explore constellations in a group space, as long as you've got a safe space and the facilitators holding that really, really well. It is profound, and it's really great to share that journey with other people as well. One-on-one constellations are also equally powerful. They're powerful in a slightly they're powerful in the same way that you're going to get big insights and big understandings. But what I really like about one-on-one work is because I can combine it with my coaching, and I combine it with my shamanic stuff and my other skill sets to be able to really, really sit with a client, and I can sit with them for a little bit longer than I would in a group constellation. Often in a group constellation, we may be doing 4 or 6 constellations in a day. So you'll have the client and their constellation, and then you're moving on to the next ones. Whereas with one-on-one work, clients got all of my full attention and my time to be able to talk through a little bit more about what's come up in the constellation, and to really talk about and think about how you will integrate the things that have come through for you, the realizations that you've had, how they'll be integrated into life. What are you going to do differently? Because I think the thing I have found with healing work, with constellations, with plant medicine, with with breath work, with TRE, you can have really, really profound realizations and shifts in the moment. But if you're not actually consciously thinking about what do I do with that shift and how do I maintain it, it becomes a profound shift you had in the moment, and it doesn't always get taken into your everyday life. You've heard me say it before, and I'm going to say it again, that any healing work that is happening should be work that serves you when you're sitting on a Tuesday afternoon at work and you're thinking, I feel really, really stuck and I don't know what to do. It should give you an insight and an ability to be able to go, okay, this is how I'm going to do it differently. This is what I'm going to shift for myself. This is how I'm going to be different here. This is how I'm going to choose to regulate myself differently. This is how I'm going to choose to speak up for myself, rather than staying quiet, which is what I've always done. So this is where the power of that one-on-one work comes in, to be able to amplify it with really, really guided integration. So, so powerful. So you might be listening and thinking, oh, it sounds quite interesting to me. What can I constellate? if it's family constellations and I don't really have a family issue, can I do it? Now, constellations are family, it's the technical term for it is family constellations, but you can bring all sorts of things to a constellation. So, for instance, things I have seen recently, clearing a money block. Somebody who just felt like that no matter how much money they earned, it was never enough. Really profound insight came through for that one. You can constellate relationship dynamics, maybe a dynamic with a parent, a dynamic with a sibling. You can constellate a dynamic with a partner, dynamics with children. And of course, the caveat with things like that is it's easy to use as a modality and think, okay, I'm going to change somebody else by doing a constellation. The person you are changing and the constellation really is acting upon is you. So it will change your understanding. And often when we have our perspective on an old story shifted, we show up differently, which then changes the dynamic in our 3D real world. Constellations are, it's energetic work on a soul level, essentially, is what it's doing. Because we're working in the knowing field, we're working in the unconscious. So we're doing deep, deep, deep work, but you can only really you'll notice that you're constellating for yourself, and it's really important, I think, that we're coming to constellate to change things for us. And that might mean the dynamic changes because you change and something's shifted under the surface as well. But anything like relationship dynamics, it's important, in my opinion, to come from how would I like this to be different for me. You can constellate things like a people-pleasing pattern. Sometimes we know we do things like that. We might have a bit of an understanding that I watched my mum do it, but it might or not always have originated with mum. And just because we understand something, sometimes that's not enough to shift it. We need something deeper to happen for us, some deeper healing, some deeper realization to happen before we can shift it. Women and men but boundaries tend to be a female problem. A problem setting boundaries. It's a great thing to constellate. A perpetual feeling of guilt, especially if you choose yourself. Great thing to constellate. Where does that come from? What do we do with that? How do we uncover that? Is it even yours? Money blocks, and a really big one to constellate, and it's something that I took to a constellation and was massively useful, is feeling stuck despite the fact you're doing all of the work to get yourself moving, but nothing is moving because you've hit some sort of invisible upper limit, some sort of invisible ceiling. And until you understand what that is, no amount of effort is going to make anything different. And it's very, very frustrating. But constellating that is very powerful. And for me, it was the thing that it is doing a constellation around that has been enormously, enormously helpful for me. So I've shared that constellations can happen in a group. The limitations with a group is obviously you're not going to get quite the one-on-one attention from a facilitator that you're going to get with a one-on-one constellation. However, you are in a group setting, sharing that experience with other people. So that is really powerful in itself. But groups tend to be on specific dates, and in-person groups are at specific places. So if you are in Johannesburg on the 6th of September, you are welcome to come to my next group constellation at Windrush Studio. And obviously you're restricted by dates with that. So there's my next one is in September. Online can happen on Zoom, and it can happen really whenever it suits everybody. So it does mean it's a little bit more accessible. And you've got that privacy as well. If you are somebody, and I have a few clients who isn't used to working in a group environment or isn't quite comfortable working in a group environment, having a one-on-one constellation is perfect because it's just you and me. If you want to have it done in the next couple of weeks, you don't want to have to wait, it's perfect. And it works really, really beautifully. So obviously with an online constellation, we don't have a group of people. We can do online group work as well. So that is one other option, but I'm talking particularly about one-on-one work here. I will either use floor markers, and I will represent for other members of people who are brought into the field, is a really, really effective way of doing things. Or I'll use a tabletop with I've got a whole bunch of crystals which I've bought over time, and now I've found a really good use for them. So I've got little crystals which can be put in to represent, and then the client and I are both tuning into what's happening as we maneuver the representatives around the field and see what shifts and changes. And I realize it sounds a little bit strange, but it is profoundly, profoundly powerful work to do, and it just sheds a different perspective on things that have been happening in your life that you've perhaps not understood. And I've seen clients do this and they go, "Oh, that makes 100% sense for me now." And often we come to constellations wanting to change something and maybe carrying a lot of the responsibility for a family dynamic that's been set up, for instance. And being able to constellate it just gives you that bird's eye view. And I've seen clients just go, "Oh, I've been carrying all of this, thinking somehow it's my fault, and it's not. It's stuff that happened before me. It's stuff that was out of my control." You know, when we're small, a lot of the emotional and mental damage is done by the way we interpret the family system we are in, the way we interpret the way people interact and talk to us and everything else. And we make that mean things about our value and our worth and who we are and what we can and can't do as a person. And often a lot of the stuff's not directed at us. Adults in our lives aren't angry because of us. They're just angry, and the anger gets taken out on us. It's constellations just sheds a whole different light on things that have played out and shaped you. And we know that until you start to consciously bring it into awareness and do the work on it, what has happened to you in your past will continue to shape your present, and it will continue to shape your future. So if you don't like the way things are now and you want them to be different going forwards, you have to look to the past to an extent to get an understanding. Then you have to be able to leave it there so you can move forwards, not dragging it through as a heavy bag of stuff that you don't know how to process and probably isn't belonging to you. So if this piques your interest, I would love to hear from you. So I have now opened my practice for doing one-on-one online constellations. And what happens with that, if I just talk you through a little bit what the process is with that, so you've got an understanding. And then I've popped in the show notes, you can book a discovery call with me, which is completely free, just to talk to me about it and say, "Hey, sort of interested in this, but I'm not quite sure." Book a call with me. Let's talk. That's what I'm here to guide you and support you. But what would happen if you wanted to do a one-on-one constellation with me is I would send you, first of all, a pre-session questionnaire just to get a bit of a gauge of, as I like to say, who's who in the zoo with the family, of how does your family system, how is it built together? Who's there? What siblings are there? Do we have anything that's happened to people in the system? You know, what about grandparents? What's happened up to, a few generations back to bring you to where you are now? Then I will ask you to bring me, what is it you want to constellate? What is the issue you want to work on? What is the thing that's bugging you that you know about, you've done all the work and it's still not moving? What are we looking at? And then we'll do an online session, either with the tabletop markers or doing place markers, and I'll be standing up and representing. And we'll investigate and have a look at the thing that you're bringing to be constellated and just get a deeper dive onto what are the dynamics at play, what are the patterns that are happening, and give you a better understanding of what's been going on that's shaping your current reality. Then a week later, we'll get on to another follow-up call. I like to do integration work with clients. It's a big part of something I'm quite insistent about with all of the work I do, is making sure clients aren't like caught and then released back out. Cool, we've done this deep work. See ya. I'm here to guide you and support you and help you integrate it, because without the integration, you don't necessarily get the change. I think that's a really, really important part of the work that I do. So you'll have WhatsApp support from me for the following week afterwards, and then a follow-up call. And then, of course, if you want to continue work with me, then that is an option too. So if this has piqued your interest, I have an introductory offer for August for sessions that are booked. So if you are a South African resident, it'll be 950 Rand for a session. If you are an international client, it'll be 125 pounds for the session with all of the support either side. That price will be going up to 1,550 Rand in September, or 175 pounds. So if you've been thinking about constellations, or you've listened to this and gone, yes, I know just the thing I have for this. Now is your chance to experience the work at a very special introductory rate as I build out my practice. So you can find out all about that. I've put links in the show notes so you can find out more about it. You can also book a call with me. You can also reach out to me on Instagram. It's at Emma O'Brien Coach. Pop me a voice note. Let me know what's happening for you. If you could constellate something, what would it be? What is the one thing in your life that is constantly at the back of your mind? That's a perfect thing to bring to a constellation. So on that note, I will love you and leave you. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you again very soon. Bye for now.